Welcome everyone to our pitch day. So just as we look to get things started, do want to remind all the viewers that this presentation may contain forward-looking information. There can be no assurance that forward-looking information will prove to be accurate, as actual results and future events could differ materially from those anticipated in such statements. So accordingly, viewers should not place undue reliance on forward-looking information. So with that in mind, we are going to turn things over to Mode Mobile. Mode Mobile is turning the smartphone into the earn phone. So Dan, would love for you to tell us a bit about how you're doing that.
All right, so Mode Mobile, what we do is we transform smartphones into earn phones. And I know many of you may know what a smartphone is, but you likely don't know what an earn phone is. But this innovation is what we've created, and it was remarkable enough to allow us to be the #1 fastest growing company as ranked by Deloitte in terms of our revenue growth. So we grew 32,481%, and I'll go through those revenue numbers here in a second of how that was calculated. But last year we were #1 ranked company in software and #2 overall on the list, outranking a lot of these major companies that you're seeing here on the right side of the screen. And so what is an earn phone and how do we come up with this? So the general idea behind Mode is that when we started seeing the smartphone, we started thinking about it in a little bit different way outside of just a communication device. We saw it as an income generating asset, and we saw it sitting untapped in the pockets of these 7 billion people around the world. And we think that this is really an interesting time for these 7 billion people, because today 56% of Americans don't have $1,000 in savings. We see similar trends in countries like Canada as well. And almost 7 billion people around the world are earning less than $12,000 a year in income. And we have 1 billion people participating in the gig economy. So all this to say, people are looking for extra ways to earn money and earn income. And so when we start thinking about the smartphone, the average usage for a smartphone today amongst consumers is about 36 hours a week. That is almost an entire work week. And for Gen Z and earlier generations, it's actually closer to 50 hours a week. So you're essentially spending 25% of your waking lives on a smartphone. And if you don't believe me, you can look in the settings of your phone, and you're likely in the range if you mathematically do it on a weekly basis. So when we started thinking about this, we started thinking about it as an asset class, very similar to what Uber does for the ride-sharing market or Airbnb did for the short-term rental market. But not everyone owns a house, not everyone owns a car, right? So that's kind of like something that only some people can take participation on. But everyone owns a smartphone, whether you're in sub-Saharan Africa or sitting in Manhattan or in Toronto, you probably have a smartphone. And so we see this as a $1 trillion market opportunity with this mobile device market. And so what Mode does is we basically take these 4 trillion hours a year that people spend on their smartphones, and we turn it into rewards and extra income for people through the usage of our software and our earn phones, which are phones that we created and are sold in big stores like Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, Target, etc. People often ask, well, how does this work? Are you just going to show us a bunch of ads? Is that how it's happening? And so, we're basically taking the activities that you're doing each and every day, listening to music, playing games, charging the phone, shopping, basically anything that you're going to do on that smart device. And we're basically aligning value with advertisers that want access to your attention. So instead of all that money going to Facebook, Google, Apple, et cetera, and these trillion-dollar companies, we're starting sharing that revenue back to you and aligning incentive. So an example of this is if you play games on your phone, Candy Crush may pay us, say, $7, $5 to $7 for an install. And what we'll do is we'll take that money and we will reward the user per minute that they play Candy Crush for a period of a week, which aligns incentive by creating a habit for you playing Candy Crush, gets Candy Crush a user, and gets you a little bit of extra rewards. But we're just doing this through financial services, games, and anything else that you can imagine. Thus far, our company has facilitated over $250 million to consumers across 170 countries, and we've had over 40 million people download our product around the world. The vast majority of our revenue is derived in the United States, but we have a tremendous demand overseas, which is why we consider those beta users. So you can kind of look at how this growth was created. In 2019, we did less than $100,000 in revenue. And by the end of 2022, we had done over 25 million, which is how the Deloitte ranking was calculated based on that growth rate. So the media has, covered us. Oftentimes people think that our solution is too good to be true. And we have a ton of different news articles and television appearances that show how this works and have been profiled all over the world. This has ultimately led to over 20,000 investors that have invested inside of Mode. And we just started crowdfunding last year and have had a tremendous amount of success on it across multiple different continents. And we are here with FrontFundr and happy to partner with them. And I believe right now we just reopened our offering. If not, it may still be in a reserve now status, but you can scan the QR code here and check out the offering, check out the video. We will likely have this offering open for another month before our a much larger offering is coming out. Or you can go to the link above with the frontfundr.com/mobile. And that is what I have for today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dan. And yes, great news. The offering is officially open again as of this morning. So those who are interested can go directly to the page and invest. Really appreciate the pitch. I think this is such a just enormous concept for what it is that you guys do, which is great. So I think from the consumer perspective, for myself and the others who are on the call, maybe you can provide some more examples about how we non-phone earners can earn money through your phone on kind of a day-to-day.
Yeah, so essentially, there's two ways to really utilize our software, and we're kind of working on the next phase of our business. But today, people can either buy one of our phones, and if it's unavailable in your country to buy, then you could actually download our app. And so if you have like an Android product, you can actually download it from the App Store and kind of turn your smartphone into an earned phone through that. And the last piece, which is like what we're most excited about for our business, is actually we're starting to license this to other smartphone makers and carriers. So what you may start seeing in the future is like a Samsung earned phone or a Motorola earned phone. And the idea is we're really trying to create a new category. We saw Roku develop a very similar business to this in the smart television space. And Roku today is a $10 billion market cap company. And essentially we're doing that for the smartphone space, which is a much bigger market in our opinion. And those are probably the ways that today you can engage with our software. If you're an iPhone user, it's not exactly our target market, and we want to really remain focused on more budget conscious consumers. We tend to see iPhone users are a little higher in income. Apple has a very closed off ecosystem, and so our focus area has really been those 6 billion people that are on Android style devices, or maybe the devices right under an Android. That are coming into owning their first smartphone. That's mostly in emerging markets. So it's actually technically a much larger market across the world.
That makes sense. I think some of the growth numbers that you shared are just incredibly impressive. So one of the questions we had come through is really just what fueled that growth, and what's kind of the next big goal or milestone for the company?
Yeah, I mean, we get a tremendous amount of organic interest in the product because people, especially now, the last couple of years with like the way that inflation is going, people's wages haven't necessarily caught up. People are having a tough time making ends meet. And so I think that there's a natural kind of interest in the product because people are curious as to how it works. And a lot of our focus has been on customer acquisition. And so, this year we've really been focusing on more profitable customer acquisition. So we generally see about a 100% return on investment within 1 month. So if we acquire a user today, by 1 month later, we will have our money paid back, and everything above that is kind of like, net income on that. So a lot of the growth has been fueled just by, profitable user acquisition or thoughtful user acquisition and, organic upside. And then now kind of that next phase, as I mentioned, is really doing these big channel partnerships with the biggest carriers around the world and OEMs like, a TELUS or an AT&T. And that really opens up, hundreds of millions of consumers around the world, to get exposed to our service.
Absolutely. Now, another question that we had come through is why hasn't anyone done this yet, and are there any competitors in the space?
Yeah, I think this is a very unique business. I think a lot of companies have tried to make this model work, especially in like the late 90s. There's a lot of companies that raise hundreds of millions of dollars to make money from your desktop. I think like the advertising market wasn't quite as advanced as it is today, is like one part of it. Two, also the cost, follows Moore's law, right? Today you can buy a really solid smartphone for like $50. And so the cost is actually quite low. And then you also have like 5G internet. that continues also to get cheaper over time. And so people are spending more and more time as the phone being their primary device, not the desktop. And because that's happening, you have fast internet service, you have a very advanced advertising market. You can align that incentive, right, amongst all parties. So I really don't think it's a question of like, if this is going to happen, it's a matter of when. But why do I think no competitors have really popped up? I really think we're just now kind of getting into like the if not now, like when part of that equation. And we've been in this space for 5 or 6 years. And so I do think people will get in the space, but I do think that we have quite a significant head start, and it's quite a difficult business to make work because you have so many different complexities of how people earn. And so it's not something that you can just like spin up, after, a week of work or so.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for the great pitch, Dan. Thank you for answering all the questions from investors as well. As we said earlier, the raise has just reopened today, so you can invest now. As Dan mentioned, it'll be open for a short period of time before they come back with another offering, which is very exciting. So definitely recommend going to their campaign page to learn more at frontfundr.com/modemobile. And you can reach out to Dan through the campaign page with any questions. So just as we look to wrap things up today, do want to thank everyone for joining. For those who may have any questions about FrontFundr or getting started, some quick information on our side. Just we are Canada's leading equity crowdfunding platform. We make it easy for Canadians to invest in the most exciting startups and growth stage companies. We've been doing this for a long time, over 150 raises, 200 million processed, 22,000 investments across a community of 40,000 investors. And if you do have any questions at any time, visit our website, frontfundr.com, and you can always reach out to support@frontfundr.com for any questions about the investment process or getting started with FrontFundr today. So definitely encourage everyone to check out all of the companies who pitched today. It's a fantastic 5 firms, so we're very thankful to have them. And to everyone who delivered a pitch, thank you for doing such a wonderful job and for joining us with investors today. So thank you, everyone.